I got an email from somebody that I wanted to hit, and I think it's a timely topic. And the email says, I recently started watching your YouTube videos, and it's helped me so much to understand the difficulties of and ways of dealing with the overt narcissistic ex. My son's dad has been absent for almost a year and will not own up to any part of the role in parenting, and he even entirely denies my son himself. He was involved up until my son was 3 weeks old, and it was a constant living hell. I am having a hard time accepting that he is who he is and letting go of the illusion of the father that he could be, quote unquote. My question is, in your opinion, am I best off leaving him alone and accepting that he won't ever change or have a change of heart? I have contacted him several times in the past year with no response. He has blocked me on all social media. It's mentally damaging to me holding on to the resentment and betrayal I feel toward him and can't seem to let it go. It hurts me that my son will grow up without a father, but realistically, am I better off having him, not having him involved? Am I wrong? No, absolutely, you are not wrong. The problem is, oftentimes it doesn't matter what these people do, it's going to be annoying. And what I mean by that is what the situation you're experiencing. I've had a lot of people who've talked about that, a lot of people who've experienced that. And what happens is typically what happens is they get really resentful and then they lash out at the person, either trying to take him back to court or realizing that maybe they could get a couple of dollars extra in child support. And they open up Pandora's box. And all that ends up happening is that person then decides that they want to be involved, and they do everything in their power to make your life a continuing living hell, like you were talking about before. But now you have the court system involved where it's giving them certain rights, because the court is going to want them to have some type of involvement. My take on this is you've done everything in your power to try to engage with them, to give them the opportunity to be the father that they should be, and he has no interest in it, whatever the reason is. You know, I mean, the bottom line is, in a way, the situation you have is a blessing in disguise, and I know it doesn't feel like that, but the reason I say that is because oftentimes the opposite of that is a parent who is involved enough to really create chaos, and that can be a couple of different ways. That can be to where they're actually counterparenting everything that you are trying to do, which is catastrophic, or they are constantly rejecting the child in a way that they're waiting for them to show up, or daddy said he was going to be there but he's not there, or mommy said she was going to be there but she's not there. And I think in a lot of ways that's more damaging because you're constantly getting these mixed messages. So I understand how frustrating this is, and what I was talking about at the beginning of this video is it's very similar as if they are involved and they're countering everything you're doing. It really hurts too. So in those situations, I've gotten emails from people where they're saying, hey, this person is just being destructive. Why won't they just go away? You're on the opposite side of the coin, to where the person won't even acknowledge the child, and it's really hurtful because you're like, come on, man. I mean, it's like, okay, you hate me, but can't you at least show some concern for your child? Remember, it's always about them. They don't really care about anything other than them. The sad part is, or the scary part is years from now, he may decide that, hey, wait a minute, I have a child, and if I engage with it or engage with him, then I'll be look like a hero, and people will respect me more. Oftentimes, that's what happens. The person will finally later get with somebody, new relationship, or start up with a new church, or do something to where people start asking those questions like, hey, Bill, don't you have a son? And then, to save face, they start to try to interact and engage and be that person or be that father that they weren't before. Now, in that situation, if they do that and they actually have maybe changed just a little bit, or maybe that secondary supply of being the fake parent that they think they should be, I mean, best case scenario, if that happens, that's not necessarily a bad thing for your child, but it's still kind of complicated. Hopefully my camera doesn't blow over here. But in your situation, what I would highly encourage you to do, you've done everything. You've done everything you can to try to get him involved and to give him an opportunity to be a parent. He's not involved, let it go. Let him go. If you need to get a good therapist to help you work with your anger and resentment, you need to do that. I know it's not easy. I mean, I've had the opposite side of the story where there's been some things that I've been really frustrated at, And sometimes it's like, man, I wish she would just go, I wish she would just pack up and leave the kids. But she's getting her supply in my situation from the child. Luckily, yours is not. Luckily, yours is doing whatever the heck he's doing, and you and the child are not in that formula for what he needs for supply. So I think you're on the right path. I think you're thinking about it the right way. You absolutely need to make sure that you get the help that you need to deal with it. I would highly encourage you, if you get irritated and you decide that, like I was mentioning before, that you want to take him back to court and eke a little, hold him accountable. Just be really careful about that, because most of the time, I'd say probably 70–80% of the time, what happens is they decide that they want to be involved and they start fighting for custody. And then you really have to ask yourself, do you really want to be in a situation where this person has 20%, 30%, 50% of time? And there's a possibility, oftentimes what happens is they start going for full custody, saying you're alienating, saying you're doing whatever, and it just makes things really complicated. The second part about this, and I think that, unless I'm missing what you were saying in your email, I'm assuming that your child's young still. Make sure that you get your child help. As they get older, even if everything seems great, if your guys' relationship is absolutely perfect, make sure you get him the professional help to deal with that abandonment issue of the other parent leaving them. There's also been a lot of people on this channel who's had that. They've had their spouse or their ex leave, be gone for years, and then turn up. And then honestly, in the situation that's happened most often, it's the mom that disappears. Dad has full custody of the kids, and then mom comes back 4 or 5 years later, and every bit of progress, kids doing good in school, being happy, everything being great, it blows apart at the seam, because now you have a toxic person who's planning basically little bombs and counteracting or doing everything, or that's not the right word, but basically undoing everything you've done. What you want is your kids to be emotionally healthy, to deal with it, to understand what the other parent is, so when they come back, they're less likely to take the bait. If you don't deal with it and you don't cover it, what can happen is they will be happy with you. The other parent will come in. The other parent will start saying that I always wanted to be a part of your life, Pumpkin, and your mom or your dad wouldn't allow it. And I always tried. Did you get all the emails I sent you? Did you get the letters? Did you get the cards? And then they're messing with the kid's mind. And then they start thinking that the stable parent really wasn't the stable parent, and they were being lied to the entire time. Guys, here's the thing. Everything on this is really complicated and really hard. It's not a pleasant experience. Oftentimes when we take the easy route, when we think everything's stable and we've dealt with it and we haven't really, it will blow up in our face. And that's what I'm talking about in this situation. So, I know if we're talking about, and this kid's, is still basically, under 3, obviously you're not going to send them to a therapist, but as they get older, I would highly encourage you do something to help them professionally deal with abandonment issues that happen, because I don't care what the deal is. The kids want to love both parents. When a parent disappears, they are going to internalize it and wonder what in the world they did wrong, why mommy or daddy doesn't love them and left. They're not going to think that they're not going to think that it's the parent's fault. They're going to think it's their fault. And if that person comes back around, well, 2 things will happen. That person comes back around, that can cause problems, or another situation is they get older, they don't process it, and then they repeat the damn mistake because they haven't done it. So they have these childhood wounds that they happen to deal with, and they end up marrying or getting involved with someone and repeating the exact same thing, and we absolutely don't want that. So if you have anything else you want to share on this, please do that in the comments below. If you like this channel and you think it's helpful for you, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification so that YouTube will tell you about when I post videos, and I will chat with you on the next video. Take care. Bye.